After he explains to him, you are president of the United States, not NATO. Don't talk about NATO. And also, you are for this policy on subsidizing state and local efforts to do childcare. You're for it. You've been pushing it for many years, sir. This is something you support, okay? It's not a big government spending program, not. Biden, quote, didn't want to talk about it. And, quote, 25 minutes into the second mock debate, the president was done for the day. I'm just too tired to continue, and I'm afraid of losing my voice. And I feel bad, he said. I just need some sleep. I'll be fine tomorrow. And he went off to bed. The president was fatigued, befuddled, and disengaged, writes Whipple. Klain feared the debate with Trump would be a nationally televised disaster. It was. On 27 June, Biden arrived at the Atlanta venue with just minutes to spare. Because Klain said he was the president of the United States, they weren't going to start without him. On stage for 2 hours and 6 minutes, Biden stumbled, stared, and mumbled. As described by Whipple, Jill Biden praised her husband's performance. She was like, there is no way I am leaving this White House, people. This is the nicest place I've ever lived. I feel important. I love being on Vogue. I think I'm secretly the president, and he did fine. It was great. Mm-hmm. But all others around the president. She didn't want to have to go back
to her medical practice, Dr. Biden.
Her medical, right.
He's a real doctor, yes.
All others around the president could see, quote, something was terribly wrong. Whipple quotes an unnamed close friend of Biden who took a call from Valerie Biden Owens, that's the president's sister and longtime advisor, who was, quote, so angry she was practically incoherent, runs in the family. And then the same friend reports later, this friend spoke to Joe Biden, who was laughing at his predicament and sounding like the senator and vice president of old. Where did that voice go? The friend wondered. Where did that guy with that voice go? What the F happened to this guy? To Whipple, that was a question on which the political fate of the nation would turn. Eventually, Biden bowed to reality. Klain took a call from Jeff Zients on 21st of July, his successor as chief of staff. Biden was out. Despite the debate disaster, the news was a gut punch to Ron Klain. Jeff, that's too bad, Klain said. I think that's a mistake. I think this was an avoidable tragedy. How? How is it avoidable? Well, honestly, what is Ron Klain trying to do here? Go ahead, Matt.
Mm-hmm. It's avoidable if your chief of staff, who is one of the only people in your inner circle, along with Dr. Jill for 2-3 years, if that chief of staff, instead of protecting, encasing the president of the United States in bubble wrap, says to people in 2021 that this is happening, because it is happening in 2021. He is witnessing it. It was not a surprise that suddenly came down from the heavens in the summer of 2024. This is something that has been long gestating, that we've all noticed, and that certainly he noticed more than Kamala Harris also noticed, and then pretended not to, and didn't really get many questions about it until like 88 days into her presidential campaign. So the way that you avoid this is that you tell people ahead of time, you note that he's the oldest president in history, and that he said he was only going to really run to forestall Donald Trump, and you start looking for alternatives. Ron Klain chose not to do this. His tears are delicious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's also the other thing Matt points out something that we tend to forget, because if you asked me early in the morning, I probably wouldn't even remember who ran against Donald Trump in the previous election, because Kamala Harris is so forgettable. But imagine this, when you have a party that's putting forward presidential candidates, in the main idea of the campaign is avoidance, right? Joe Biden is avoiding interacting with the press, interacting with people. Like, every time there's a Joe Biden interview, people are like, biting their fingernails. Is he going to just, tank this one too and show people who he really is and the state of his brain, to be honest? And then what happens with Kamala Harris? She becomes the nominee, and she avoids the media for how many days? I mean, it's just like, you have a party who's like, we don't want to interact with the American people or the media, right? And the media is on your side. The media is high-fiving you, trying to push you back into the White House, the party back into the White House. And on the other hand, Donald Trump, love him or hate him, think he's doing a great job or a terrible job, he's constantly interfacing with people and with the press. And sometimes that's going to produce some bad results, but people like that. And they also don't like a party that seems like they have constantly something to hide.
and are openly lying. I mean, for Kamala Harris, Joe Biden's cognitive decline was pretty much her January 6th. Like, she could never admit the truth about this publicly for obvious political reasons, but still you are actively lying to the American people as you're running for office. And you're lying about one of the most transparently false things imaginable. My boss is always great. He could totally do this job. He should be running. I mean, he's great. He could totally do this. There was never any problem. No, to the extent that's true, you believe that's true, you're only demonstrating that you do not have the judgment to be president of the United States. And to the extent it's not true, then you are, again, just another duplicitous liar who is willing to say just about anything if it means that you get elected and get to stay in power.
I think, Kmele, this guy, Ron Klain, is worse. He's worse than Kamala Harris on it, right? Because it's like Kamala Harris was you have to give her in a very tough position, only the nominee because he gave it to her. And you know, running around being like, he's mentally infirm. We all knew it. Yes, I saw it, is a tough way to win and not be undermined by the guy who gave you the baton. But Ron Klain, as chief of staff, had more than enough opportunity to get this on record with powerful Democrats inside, outside the White House, and to get it on record with media and to make sure the public knew before it was too late for them to switch horses. And maybe that's why he feels the need to say now, no, it was never so bad. I didn't think he could do it. It was never so bad. I thought he should step down. And he gave this interview before Kamala officially lost. But let's face it, by September, we all knew the likelihood was that she wasn't going to be able to pull this out. So that may also be playing a role. Like, I was right. Joe Biden could have done it. You know, there were some bad days, and I admit that to this reporter, but he wasn't so infirm. In any event, what this says to me is they're liars. They stole a presidency. And I don't mean that in the sense Donald Trump means it from 2020. I mean, Joe Biden wasn't president. He might have been president of NATO, but he was not president of the United States. It appears that Ron Klain was, and Jeff Zients was, and Jill Biden was, and we really don't actually know who was president for most of the time or making all these calls. And it's truly outrageous. And now, bit by bit, they want to be returned to power. No, they lost those 2 special elections in Florida, but that's Florida, which is very red. I realize they tightened the margin a little, but all right. I mean, the Republicans won by 15 points. Right? It wasn't 30, but it was 15. But they did win that Wisconsin State Supreme Court election last night pretty easily. They won this special election in the state of Pennsylvania at the state level, not a federal election. And bit by bit, we're seeing voters put Democrats back into power because Trump is controversial. Trump's doing a lot of controversial things. And it's such a good reminder of what this party did to us for 4 years. They started dishonestly and they were dishonest all the way to the end.
Yeah. Interestingly, in Wisconsin, voter ID manages to win pretty easily as well. So, you know, it's
Can I say something about that, Kmele?
Yeah, go ahead.
As much as I would love to say to our audience, and I'm sure there are a lot of Republicans and conservatives, I know people want to celebrate that as like a silver lining. I saw Elon tweeting it was all about that. The truth is that's not right. That isn't true. No. The law in Wisconsin already was that you had to show a photo ID when you vote. That was a law on the books, signed into law. And Wisconsin voters had to show photo ID this past election. What they were doing here was writing it into the state constitution so it can't be changed more easily in the future. So that is another layer of protection. But let's be honest, this was not all about the photo ID, which is it's already law in Wisconsin. This was about trying to maintain control of the state Supreme Court so they couldn't redistrict, bless these new redistricting lines that the Democrats want, and capture 2 additional seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, right? So I believe me, I had a lot of people try to spin me on Twitter today about how it's a real victory. And I was like, okay. Tariff wars, stubborn inflation. No wonder gold has been routinely hitting all-time highs. In volatile markets like the one we have now, don't sit on the sidelines with your head in the sand. You can take control and safeguard your savings. This is why so many Americans today are turning to Birch Gold Group. They have helped tens of thousands convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. Is it time for you to hedge against economic instability with gold? To learn how to own physical gold in a tax-sheltered account, text MK to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation info kit. Again, text MK to the number 989898. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, Birch Gold has helped many protect their savings with gold. It took us decades to get into the tangled mess they're trying to unpack right now in D.C. How long will it take to get out of it, and at what cost? Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.